we will be getting ready to come on and talk about financial health, life insurance, and things of that nature. So whoever's coming in, thank you for coming in, and we will be starting in a few. It's alright. So I'm still want to make sure that really sound right.
Yeah, I have your thing go in here.
No, you good.
I'm gonna be like, listen,
You good.
straight over top of
got
her
it.
head. That's like
I'm doing nothing.
Like,
Nice
That's cute though.
Thank you.
So come on in, get yourselves together. We're back for another week of Shop Talk hosted by Dr. Nicole Wagner.
Wanda Reed.
And Sabrina Wright.
As always, we like to keep you in the know of what's going on. So here's what's going on. Here's the tea or the juice. Y'all can't see
Give
it.
it on. Give it on.
I'm sipping juice from the one and only Juice Lady, Miss Juice World Cold Press.
She does it.
Oh, yes, she
This
did.
is a one-stop
So
shop right
yeah,
now.
yes, it is.
You know?
Who will be launching her website?
Yes.
It is up and coming. We will keep you posted with that information. I'm just surrounded by dynamic women. Also, let's not forget, as we close out year 2022, we talked about the Juice Lady Bree starting empowerment body movement with a fitness format, and coupled with her juicing, because remember she gave us that whole. So we really are in a year and a season where we want to not only just talk about but foster in combination with promote optimum wellness. And I talk a lot about that, so make sure you link to us. The dynamic, I would be remiss if I didn't shout her out and put her on a spot, Mrs. Wanda Reed.
Hey y'all.
She is one of my model and runway coaches. She is also a model. She's been published many, many times in Daytera Magazine, Trendsetter Magazine, O2 Magazine, Vogue Magazine. I can't remember all of the magazines. True Self Magazine. She recently in 2022, she did her first of many runway fashion shows. She is already behind the scene working on another one, so stay tuned for the announcement date of that for 2023. She is also the CEO and the founder of Protect Our Girls campaign. If you remember, we closed out on a difficult, very uncomfortable, but very necessary note of talking about and raising just awareness to pedophilia behavior, looking at the warning signs, not just thinking as strangers, and how to actually begin the healing process for your child and or yourself. She is also the trailblazer and the originator. You can find the In the Silence documentary from 2017. Again, it's called In the Silence on Amazon.com. I keep posting that link. Those are real live situations. You do have actors acting out the childhood part of the trauma. If you notice, I talk a lot about ACE, adult adverse childhood effects, and we see this play out in our adult life when we don't acknowledge and or seek therapeutic help and support to live a life of not survival, but the ability to thrive in our adulthood life as we go on. Last thing I want to say before we get into our beautiful guest, Miss Ty Golden, is, I, Dr. Nicole Wagner, am your reigning queen for 2021 Curves and Confidence. I am preparing to pass that crown over to another well-deserving, empowered woman in this October. But as we're gearing up to that, I am one of your many coaches, mentors, and panelists for the Domestic Violence Talk we will be having under Curves and Confidence, All Curves Matter, on April the 23rd. So I will post that link where you can purchase your tickets. It will be a brunch, so It'll be some mimosas, some conversations, because what we're going to talk about is uncomfortable. So we want to give you some to keep you focused.
"Did you got insurance?" And she was like, "No." I said, "I am an agent. I'm your sister. Let me help you because if something happened, I don't want nobody calling me." I said, "I don't want nobody calling me," and I wasn't trying to be funny.
Right.
Well, fast forward, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Had she waited, she did get the policy with me, but had she waited, and she would be mine, or she would be uninsurable at the time. You know what I mean? So thank God she's in remission and doing good, but it don't always go that way.
Right.
So it's a lot of personal things that I've experienced. I'm like adamant. I try not to be pushy, but I'd rather push that than we push and go GoFundMe's all the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you might pay $20 a month. I don't care. Start somewhere. It's all about just getting something. It's not about having this great big policy where you're gonna struggle to keep. Get something that you can just put in your budget. It doesn't feel like a bill. So Passion, my sister-in-law who has a funeral home, you know, I've been working for her over 8 years, and I'm like, it makes sense to get insured so I can help people. You know what I mean? Because she started out as an agent, but now that her company has grown, and she, you know, we busy. We have last week I think she had 5 services. I worked 3 of them. So it's so busy, she don't have time to do it.
Yeah.
So me and her assistant Robin, we're the agents. You know what I mean? But we're independent, so we really work for ourselves. You know, we are contracted with a company, but we work for ourselves. But yeah, so I know I'm going on and on because I'm really passionate about it. I'm so
you're passionate.
It's so hard, you know, trying to agree like how I'm gonna get this money. You know what I mean? You worry about how to get the money together because you want to put them away nicely, right?
Right.
But it don't take 50, 15, or 20. Because I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. Most of the money goes toward the casket, so you don't have to put a whole bunch of money into the casket. You can have a nice service. You know what I mean? No matter the amount, but it's when people are not prepared, then it's all the other extra stuff. You know, but it's all about having a plan in place. And a lot of times people don't have the plans in place. So
I believe there's a misconception when it comes to, you know, whether you can get what type of life insurance that you can get, who qualifies for certain life insurance. I think a lot of people are confused, especially younger people, because like you said, when you're young, you think you're bulletproof. You know, you don't think about the what ifs happening. And we usually rely on our older generation taking care of us and even paying for those policies that they've had from Herbalife. You know, they don't think about all of that, you know, but when you get 18, you can start paying for your own life insurance policy, correct?
Yeah. You can have your
The thing is, you know, just like people are being born each and every day, all day, there is someone whose life is taken away, you know? What would you say to families who are struggling already with people who are sickly, who are on drugs? Unfortunately, you know, they're addicted, and it's hard to really get the insurance for them. What should their mindset be in looking out for the rest of the family members who, you know, haven't gone down that road yet, and yet they see this happening and they still don't have the insurance?
You know what? Just like we gather for a family reunion, cook out, have family meetings, discuss stuff. Like, I mean, we talk about everything else. I can't stress it enough. You got to talk about it. You got to have the uncomfortable conversations. Find out who has what, especially if they're older. Get my mom and pop-up's policies out and review them, because a lot of times they might have a term policy, which means it turns out. So after a certain age, if they outlive it, it's like starting all over again.
Exactly.
You can't afford it, right? So you gotta have those uncomfortable conversations, like we talk about everything else. A lot of times it's nonsense, and have a plan. Like you plan to go on a vacation, right? You know, you get in this car, you're trying to buy a house, you're planning a wedding. Make that a top priority. And so, like I said, do your research. You know what I mean? There are people that want a big policy so they can pay off debts and houses, but if you can't afford that, I just say focus on your final expense plan. Focus on that, okay? That, and then if you're able to come into some money and get something bigger, do that later. But just get started. I don't care if it's $1,000 plan. That's $1,000 less you got to ask people for than not having anywhere to start. You know what I mean? I remember, y'all know back in the day, the insurance man come knocking on your door.
I was just talking about that.
But a lot of time, money wasn't even going to it. I'm just
Well, I can tell you, I don't know that.
Really?
A lot of people don't know what happened.
He stopped knocking on my door.
He was, yeah,
Wow.
they stopped.
He did.
They
I
have
have
stopped.
a question.
Uh-huh.
Like the question about term and whole
Mhm,
life,
mhm.
right? Like I have a term policy, but now I'm thinking like it's no point for it because at some point, like I don't wasted so much money. Like I switched a lot of it over to whole, but it's still a certain amount in return. What benefits could I get from that term policy before it even? Because it term out when I'm 65.
Yeah, so if I don't know if it's one where you can draw from it, because from what I'm thinking, term you can't get nothing out of it. Now, whole life is a cash benefit.
Yeah,
You can borrow against that, but term this is
just
going
a
to
waste of
if
money.
you outlive it, yeah, all that money gone. All that money is gone.
So it's just
Can
smart
you
enough to
transfer?
just transfer the whole, which costs you more in monthly, but
To transfer money that she already
Yeah.
had?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean it's worth it.
Yeah,
But it's just the monthly payment gonna be a lot.
yeah, it'll feel like the car
I'm sure
payment.
I'm doing that.
So I want to piggyback on the medical piece as you shared in regards to a friend of yours. Are you able to speak to some of the comorbidities that would cancel you out of being able to receive life insurance?
So with the company that I'm contracted with, we do a prescription history check, right? It's based on the last 2 years.
Okay.
So during that run, if a medication comes up, it might make you modified. Which means it's not that you can't get insured, it's gonna be a lot higher. So if you're 50 and younger, you would have to outlive the policy 3 years. If you're 50 and over, you just have to outlive it 2 years. So if a person was to pass away during that time, you would only get what you paid back in. Plus like 10% if it was 1 year, 20% if it was 2 years. You would, so it's just
So-
best to get it now.
One more question. I don't know y'all got questions.
That's what we're here for.
By her saying that, she said that it'll just because you get the policy don't mean that if something happened that
If a
year,
person's modified,
you're not
you
gonna
only get back what you
yeah,
paid
you
out.
only get what you paid out. So if you only
If the person's
paid
modified.
1,000 into it, that's how much the policy will come
If
back.
you're modified, yep. If you pass away within that modification period,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So also I want to piggyback on. I want to piggyback on. You spoke briefly in regards to the job aspect of getting
Okay.
a policy because I know when we went live just announcing about the importance of today's show and everything, I actually encourage people like at least start somewhere
Yeah.
with your HR benefits representative.
Oh yeah.
So what? So I just want to throw that out there. I don't want nobody inboxing me talking about I
I'm
told
glad.
you wrong.
Well, when you have life insurance on a job, you really just have a certificate. It's a group. It's group coverage. You don't have individual coverage on you. So, so like I have an uncle who don't. He's kind of hesitant to retire because he's gonna lose all of it. He's gonna lose his benefits, life insurance, and he's been on his job. He probably been on his job long as I've been alive, and so he's working partial just to keep his benefits. He will not be able to afford it. So a lot of times, if you're trying to keep that insurance, if you leave that job or they let you go,
It's expensive.
very expensive. So I recommend getting something outside of your job, like because families still end up waiting around whether they're gonna verify you even got it or how long it's gonna take for you to get it. And then a lot of families have to settle for a cremation, and that's not what they want to do.
Right.
You should not have to settle for a cremation because nobody can come up with the money now. It's easier to pay, well, I would think it's easier to pay $30, $40, $50 a month versus come up with thousands in a week. You
That's
know?
true.
If we think about stuff like that, a lot of times people say, life insurance for the dead. No, there are benefits while you're alive too. Like I said, people cash out. People will cash them out. They buy land and put kids through college, you know what I mean? But like, might be a little bigger policy, but at least you got something you can take from versus not being able to have anything.
Would they be penalized though? If they
I mean,
take
you
out
got no, it's not penalized.
Okay.
No, but I mean, if you don't need to use it, don't use it.
policy that if I would, by the time I get to that, everything I said at 65, like so, whatever is there, I can borrow. I mean, not borrow because it's my money, tax free, but I can take out of it And also, if I pass, it'll roll over to that too. I can use it for that, or my children, or whoever the beneficiaries are on the policy or whatever. So it's like a living death policy. Like
That's what yours is.
I have like 3 different ones.
But if you outlive
if I outlive
then
it,
you get nothing.
for real, wow.
Because the term is until that age, right?
Oh, this is like a whole.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So I can it's like I forgot the name of it. It's a book that I read. It was called The Miracle. It was like a nest egg.
Mhm.
Like you putting money aside. It's a policy, but you put money in it, and this tax. You don't have no tax on it.
Well, that is
And then it's like a whole lifestyle living death policy.
Mhm.
So if I would borrow off of that, like you said, they take buy land and stuff like that. Would you be keen? Oh yeah, you're next.
Yes.
Hi, next is here as
Yes,
well.
come on in.
Yes, come on
You want
in.
her to take my chair?
Actually, let me just say this. First of all, when we have these shows, this is how we know that everything is so organic, because pretty much every question that I've had for you, you've already answered.
Wow.
And not to mention, Bree actually asked for her own personal reasons some of the other questions. So before Robin comes, I just wanted to ask you, for your part, with this being tax season, what are the tax implications for life insurance, and are premiums deductible?
Robin probably can ask that. But one thing I will say about tax season, if you don't have a policy, guess what? You can get one and you can pay it up for the year. You don't have to worry about the monthly payments.
I'm sorry.
For the year.
I need you to look into
Tax season. Get a policy on you and your children. Pay it up for the year. Pay it up 6 months. Get ahead. Then it won't
As
seem like
opposed
such a
to-
struggle.
So I think what she's saying, if everybody is listening, instead of buying a car that you're going to keep for a few months, because that's
then they come to get
well,
it.
right before the repo. Before that car, before you go and buy your $800 wig,
Or you'll be
before you go and get your Beyonce exam, before you go on your trip to Miami, we need you to get some life insurance.
Right.
Give the gift to yourself that keeps on giving, even when you're gone.
That's right.
Okay? It's very important that we all have life insurance.
I'd like to share this, Wanda, real quick. And Denise is coming on, y'all. I call her Denise, is right. Master P's grandfather left him $10,000 when he, that was his benefits from the life insurance. That's how he started this company.
Look at that. Generational wealth.
Generational wealth. And that's what it creates. So don't just think of the dying part, while you're living. There are people buying land off of policy.
Well, the thing is, we live our lives to live.
Exactly.
We don't live our lives to die.
That's right.
However, we have to always keep in mind that that's a part of life.
I just came from a
You ain't
funeral.
gonna get out of here alive.
I literally worked one today, so people are leaving here, so we need to be prepared.
Yeah, I'm saying that my fault. He had a small policy, but his policy.
She did. I'm gonna make sure.
Yeah, my dad did a small policy, but
She be catching flights. She called.
All right, I'm just going to shift over a little bit because we can't really see Denise.
so yeah,
Robin.
I can call you Denise.
Oh,
Robin Denise.
Okay, before we get all confused with who she is, I just want to introduce Robin Boyd, and I'm going to let her tell you a little about herself, but I do know that she is a representative for GDI Consultants.
She's the owner.
She is the owner.
Owner.
I'm sorry. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I didn't do my research, y'all. Sorry.
No big deal. No big deal.
Robin, tell us about you.
GDI stands for.
Yes, I am the owner of GDI Insurance and Financial Services. The GDI stands for God Did It, because God did it. Yes, God did it. He opened the door for this opportunity, and I started. Ty and I both work for the funeral home, and I'm the owner's assistant at the funeral home. And she asked me one time, "Well, Robin, you ever thought about getting your insurance license?" I was like, yeah, because at that time I was The funeral home was new. I was trying to help her to build the funeral home. So my thought was, oh, yeah, one-stop shop. They're coming for the funeral. These life insurance. Yeah, sounds good, but I didn't go any further with it. And then one day I was managing my daughter's hair salon, and one day a young lady came in the hair salon, and my daughter didn't know, and she was like, Mom, I don't know this lady. Can you stay and shampoo her for? I was just stopping by to do my momager duties. And the young lady started talking to me, and I said, all right, y'all, I got to get ready to go. And my daughter was like, well, where you going? I said, I'm going to work. She was like, okay, which job? You got 100 of them. So the young lady said, well, how many jobs do you have? I said, probably about 4. And she was like, 4 jobs is for 4 people. And I said, you told nothing but the truth. She said, you need to come and work with me. You need to do what I do. I said, well, what do you do? She said, I'm a life insurance agent. I was like, really? Okay. I said, well, who do you write for? She told me the name of the company, which is Lincoln Heritage Life Insurance Company. And in fact, that's the same company that the owner of the funeral home, that's who she used to write for. That's who she introduced. That's the first insurance company I ever heard about. So I knew in that moment that God was opening the door. I knew he was opening the door because I had been praying for, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do next? Because I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
Right.
And I don't even make $50,000 a year. So I'm like, well, we got to do something here. And she began to share the information with me. I said, okay. I went on and like lightning.
Yeah.
I went through the pre-licensing course, got my license, got licensed in 9 different states. I'm ready to do this. Because what happened in my family, we had my cousin, he passed away, and there was no life insurance. He was killed. No life insurance. I am the family's minister. I work at the funeral home. Of course, they're going to call Rob.
Everything.
And I'm the family's go-to person for everything. So, of course, I get the call, and not to mention, he was just like a little brother to me. So it was a no-brainer. But it was a very, very difficult time for my family losing him, but there's no money to bury him. And his mother, she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't have any insurance on him. So as a family, we pull from this one, pull from that one. Everybody, different people pulling from their savings and stuff like that, trying to make it work. And it was tough. It was real tough. You have those that willingly help and those that, well, I don't want to give them my money, all of that kind of stuff, So it was a very difficult thing. And throughout that process, I learned so much. One of the things that I learned is I don't want that to be my story. I don't want it to be your story. I don't want it to be your story. So my job is to make sure that nobody ever has to go through this, because it was tough. It ended up where we had to cremate him. And when I gave the ashes to his mother, she took them, but about 2 days later, she called my mother 11 o'clock at night. Got to come get these ashes out of my house. She couldn't properly grieve the loss of her son, because what she told me is that she felt less than a mother to not have any life insurance on her child. She didn't want her child burned up. She wanted him to be buried. So she didn't properly grieve. That process for her was so very difficult. She said it felt like, as long as those ashes was in that room, she kept them in a room with the door closed. She said it felt like he was calling her. And she said these ashes got, to this day, now this has been almost 10 years ago. It's been 9 years, in fact. To this day, those ashes are still sitting on my mother's dresser. She still don't have them. It was too tough. So it became my passion to make sure that nobody ever had to feel that again. Nobody. So when I was presented with this opportunity, like I said, I went full force with it. I jumped right in, both feet, and I'm not a salesperson. So I don't consider myself selling you a policy. My job is to have conversations, like Ty said, have those tough conversations with people, and help them to understand what they need. Because a lot of us, we don't know what we need.
Right.
A lot of us think we know.
Yeah.
And some of those other things that you all mentioned earlier are more important. Bad shoes, Beyonce tickets, whatever the case might be. Those things are very important to some people because tax time, this is the time of year I gotta work on my I got a long summer money. Yeah, this is my yearly come up, so I'm gonna ball out. But I don't want to have to bury you with those shoes on that you bought. I don't want your family to have to go sell your handbags trying to come up with the money to pay for your funeral. When you can take, like Ty said, an annual premium. My young people, that's what I tell them. Pay it up for the year. You paying up what? $500? You got about 10 stacks over here. You're gonna give us about $500 to make sure that your family is covered in the event something happens to you, in the event that you die. Because none of us get out of this life alive.
That's right.
So $500 is a small portion of that $10,000 you might have to pay every year to make sure that your family is protected. Because you're gone, there's still loved ones that's left behind to grieve that loss, to not be able to properly grieve because there was nothing in place, to have the embarrassment of going on Facebook with the GoFundMes and all of those things, the begging, borrowing, stealing,